Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the 2020 podcast, Canada's #1 optometry podcast. I am your host, Dr. Harbir Sayan. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me here to learn and to grow. I have some exciting things to talk about today. Today is a special episode as we're leading right up to Vision Expo East 2024. It's just a week away, if you can believe it. Incredible. We are going to be talking about some of the fun stuff that's happening at Vision Expo. So everybody who's going there is prepared and is going to make the most of it. And I have a returning guest, the one and only Nico Roseillier, the founder and creator, a creative strategist and storyteller at the Untitled Creative Agency. Also, the creator of the Now Exhibit and Now Awards, which is something that we really want to spend some time talking about today. So we'll tap into Nico's expertise on all of that in just a moment. But Nico, I apologize. More importantly, our special guest today is James Spina, who is the editor, or I should say former editor-in-chief of 2020 magazine, just recently retired, but was editor-in-chief for 30 years of 2020 magazine. Who else to bring on the 2020 podcast than the editor-in-chief of 2020 magazine, and has incredible experience in the magazine world and a previous experience in women's wear and W magazine, and of course loves talking and writing about his favorite product, which is eyewear. So there's nobody better to have on the podcast to talk about eyewear and an eyewear show than James Spina. Also, I should mention, he is the first ever recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Awards at the Now Awards, which he received last year. And congratulations on that, James.
Thank you
for
much.
joining us here. Appreciate
very
having
important.
you.
Thank you.
Very important.
Nice
very nice.
to be.
Very nice. Thank you so much. Now, after that very long-winded intro, let's talk a little bit about Vision Expo. Let's talk a little bit about Now. Nico, I'll start with you. You created this thing. Why did you? How? How does one create an exhibit at a giant eyewear, an optical show like Vision Expo?
Well, it's something that's showing what's happening in the industry, and not just in terms of trends, but also like in terms of what's new, what's next, what's happening. I think was definitely necessary in the U.S. circuit of the eyewear shows, and they did not exist before. It does exist in Europe, where they show, what's happening in the industry. I think it was great opportunity to represent everybody on one, installation. So the whole idea of the Now was, it's always been about representing everybody in the industry, and it doesn't matter the size, if you're licensed, if you're independent, big guys, small guys. I wanted really to represent everybody every year, to being able to show off what they've been working on, what they've been designing for a year on that same platform, which is eyewear design. So that's kind of the way this whole idea started it. And then last year grew to, I always knew I wanted to grow it, to become something that it's more relevant, something that people are looking forward to. And really, just give it, recognition to people who have been doing things from above and beyond, and really thinking outside the box, and representing different stuff. So last year we did the first awards, the Now Awards, which was a huge success. So to give you a little bit of numbers, the first year, so this is going to be our third year, but the first year we got 120 frames submitted. Last year we got 220 or something like that. This year we are close to 280 frames submitted. So it's a great number. It's great to see it grow. We have right now in the office, everything's laying down, and it's some really amazing stuff. And I'm really excited to share with everybody who's going to come to visit and come to at the show to really see all the fabulous work that people have been putting the last year. So it's pretty exciting. And then, we have the first day of the show at 4:30 at the bridge. We'll have the ceremony for the awards, and we have 9 different awards this year. So going from best optical, best sunglasses, both in licensed and in independent brands. We have best sustainable style. We have new emerging brands of designer. We, of course, are bringing the Optical Lifetime Achievement Award, which would be number 2, after James. James will be there to give and represent the awards himself. And as well as we're doing a partnership with a new awards this year with the Accessory Council, which I'm very excited. We've been working very closely with these guys, and they're doing a beautiful job, always representing the eyewear. So we're pretty excited to have the Accessory Council presenting an awards with the Now this year. So
that's awesome. Wow. So you more than doubled the submissions just in a couple of years. Clearly, people are interested in sending in their product. Almost 300. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's it's always a very interesting thing, and then obviously, I don't do this all on my own, but I we have an amazing, as you know, we have an amazing committee this year.
Right.
The committee change every year. You on the committees this year. I'm very, very pleased to have you joining our committee, and we have a few other people too that's joining us. So it's we're six committee members, and the committee change every year. And the whole idea of the committee is really to get different opinion, different view, different point. Like people are doing different stuff. So we have from amazing OD and host of 2020 podcast, but we also have people who are from retailer to doctors to designers to buyers to so there's a lot of different point of view, which I think makes that really interesting in terms of the vote and how things are selected.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yes. Last time we had this conversation, I forgot to mention off the top that I am also involved, and I'm very, very grateful, honored to be invited to be on the committee this year. And it's a very, very cool mixed group of people who are on that committee. Definitely, I think, bringing in a lot of different perspectives. So I'm grateful to be part of that and be involved in this whole process, because to me, it's something I've never been involved in, like to put on to be involved in. I know you're doing obviously most of the work here, Nico, but like just to be connected to somebody putting on an exhibit like this, an award show like this, that's super cool. And everybody, we all love an award show, right? Like everybody watches the Grammys and the Emmys and the Oscars and all of that. Everybody loves it when somebody's up there making their little speech, holding their award. So I think that was such an awesome idea for you, a great natural next step to go from an exhibit to an award show, to recognize people in these different areas of the industry. Everybody appreciates being recognized also, right? I think it's a cool thing. We like watching it, but of course, people who are on stage receiving an award are greatly appreciative of that. So let me plug that really quickly before we move on to chatting with James. The Now Awards show will be happening Friday afternoon at the Bridge at Vision Expo East, Friday, 4:30 p.m. So make sure you're there for that. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think there's going to be champagne. Am I overstepping by sharing this?
No, that's good. You're right. There will be bubbles afterwards. Yes.
Good. Excellent. So look, if just in case the awards show is not enough, come to clink a glass and have a sip with us at 4:30 on Friday. So now, James, Mr. James Spina, please enlighten us. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about who you are. And then if you don't mind leading from there into why do you think the Now Awards and the Now Pavilion is an important addition to Vision Expo East?
I'm going to keep the part about me very brief. With 30 years deep into 2020 magazine as the editor-in-chief, I was privy to so much that went on at Vision Expo and that continues to go on. And I'm going to lead right into this, that, 4 years ago, when lockdown happened and it looked like, what are we going to do next? This guy, Nico, came up in collaboration and partnership with the Vision Council and Vision Expo in creating a new aura, a new happening that could enhance what was then a trade show in crisis. And although the trade show is back in gear and running, Nico at that point came up with this idea to enhance the messaging, to enhance the story. 30 years of a trade shows, no matter what your industry, no matter what your product, when it comes right down to it, they can sometimes just be a sale-a-thon, retailers coming to see what vendors have to offer. And actually, under the crisis of lockdown, it was very apparent that that is not enough. You need something else. People need to learn something. People need to feel a sense of communication and a sense of community. I think for years, 2020 provided a nice part of that in its print and its digital. Magazines do that. Online entities such as what you do right here do that. But a trade show needs something to keep chattering, to keep storytelling. There you go. There's a little baby telling something.
You hear them. Yeah.
But anyway, Nico came up with the idea of the now. And it really took this concept of trade show beyond just a sellathon to a reason to communicate, a reason to tell stories about eyewear, this amazing product. So the now was developed. I was glad to be on the first committee. There was no awards at that point, but Nico was he literally charged himself with creating a booth, creating themes that eyewear could fit into. And the eyewear vendors responded in a way that was not just product, but what the product means beyond the product, the storytelling, the style, the cachet, the devotion to sustainability. That happened with the first now. In light of things that happen at Slomo and things that happen at Mido, and a variety of shows across in the world, now added a awards ceremony with voting and with appropriate categories in both eyewear and sunwear, and a number of different levels and layers, with an achievement award. And as Nico noted, this year, years ago, I was graced with the ability to coin some wonderful things, and I started calling eyewear the ultimate accessory. And this year, Nico has embraced that. And the Accessories Council and Accessories Magazine are awarding a Ultimate Accessories Award at the now. All of this in anticipation and a growing climate of noting to the industry, it's not just about trade shows. It's about an optical professional sitting across from a consumer and not really convincing them about eyewear, but listening to what they need and giving them not only what they need, but what they want when it comes to eyewear and sunwear. And in a way, now encapsulates and incorporates that want and that need. And for a trade show to put on a platform like that for its professionals and for its showgoers is an incredible, wonderful thing. It's a new layer, and it's a layer that, of course, the selling is important, but this layer that can keep growing so that communication can grow anew each time. It's wonderful that this, as I said, this was likely forced by lockdown. But here's yet another example of something happening in lockdown that really has a chance now to grow and become an integral part of not only the eyewear industry, but many industries. But in particular with eyewear, we now have a platform to chat, to talk, to communicate, to see the different styles, to understand what they mean, to figure out what trending is about, and really to acknowledge the vendors for the incredible work they do in creating this amazing product. Eyewear is unique. It's one of those, I can't think of anything else where a tremendous need is fulfilled by something that is so cool that you want it. And that's the now. You want the now. I will note, as a sort of close to my long ramification, I did not know I was getting the Lifetime Achievement Award last year. In fact, Nico lied to me and told me another name. And when I said that it was going to happen on stage, I then left the stage. And when I heard my name, I thought I had screwed up and thought that I was being called back on stage to give out the award. But I will say, when I got up there and when I got that award, in 30 years, that was the capping of my career in optical.
That's amazing.
It was the proudest moment in my life in optical. And I'm
Wow.
grateful also for the ability and the chance, even though I'm no longer editor-in-chief at 2020, I'm grateful for the chance to be behind the scenes with Untitled and Nico as they continue to grow what is the now. And everybody that's going to Expo, you have a chance to look at the pavilion and to come to the presentation on the Friday. This is really a chance to make what is an industry an enlightening career, on both sides of the table, on the retailer side and the vendor side. And it really, from the retailer and the vendor, gives you a chance to tell a great story to the consumer, to the eye wearer. That's what I got to say.
That's amazing. Thank you. Certainly, I understand, where you are in your career in this communicator position, and you're wonderful at it, and eloquently putting that all together. Thank you very much, James. And I see that from what you're sharing, the now becomes this kind of bringing people together, this forming this sort of a community and allowing that communication, whereas it was so segmented before. I mean, always has been, right? You got to go to that booth to learn about that thing and that booth to learn about that thing. And now it's centralized. Here's a space where you can just learn about so many. I assume obviously not everything is there, but so many of the designers and the brands and pieces of eyewear are right there where you can learn about them, see them, touch them, feel them. And the first time I went to the Now Pavilion, I was shocked at how many different designers there were, because we tend to get bombarded by some of the bigger players, and that sort of overshadows a lot of the smaller. So I love I think the right term is that democratic the part that this is so democratic, right? There's the smallest designer and the biggest designer on the same stage, on the same platform, and that's super cool because that I haven't seen before. So I think it's amazing. And the fact that somebody of your experience and stature is speaking so highly of it, I think brings much. I mean, already it's got so much credibility, but so much more credibility to the whole thing. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. I appreciate the storytelling.
Thanks for giving me the chance. Thanks for giving me the
chance. So Nico, before we wrap up, anything else you want to share about now, about the awards?
James and I talk very often about, to be a good, not just designer, but to be able to create, to be able to move forward, you need to know your history, right? I mean, we're true believers of like really learning what has been done in the past to be able to move further and forward. And so I said that, it depends. It starts with all of that, and you really see this through, the Now and the exhibit and everything's going on to be able to really see, you see that what has been done, the inspiration, and when it's moving forward. So it's really interesting. And obviously, James is a huge, if you have any question, if anybody has any question, really engage everyone to track him down through Instagram and Facebook, because he's obviously a huge knowledge of 30 years in this industry and understanding and knowing and really being able to dissect all those little stories and how things has been moving. So I think that is really interesting to represent also not just 30 years of James as 2020, but also this year is the 50 years anniversary of Jobson 2020 magazine. So there will be an installation at the entrance of under what they call the Crystal Palace at the show, right next to Starbucks. I think it's a good location indicator for most people, but there will be an installation representing, showing the last 50 years of Jobson 2020 magazine. and you'll be able to see the 30 years of work that James has put into it as well. So everything is represented there as 50 years. It's covering over 600 covers of magazine over the last 50 years that will be shown there, and a timeline that really this idea of knowing your history, and I think in any industry you are on, is really represented there by this timeline to really understanding what happened the last 50 years, not just in Jobson and 2020 magazine, but how all the different parts of our industry, from big acquisition to the show moving to different, the show have moved before many times, to show all of that into it. So that would be there as well.
Awesome.
And then if you have any question in music, where James is actually calling us from the vault, there is quite a bit of records behind James, and I know there's even more in the house upstairs too. But if you have any question on rock and roll and music in particular, I would do invite you to contact James.
That's amazing. Well, I forgot. I wanted to ask about that, and since you brought it up, Nico, James, please tell us. No, if let me preface this. Anybody who's just listening on the audio app, if you have a chance, go on YouTube and pull up the video of this, and you'll see what Nico's referring to. So behind James is a lot of records.
Yeah.
So James, describe to us what's happening here.
My career at Women's Wear also incorporated my longtime desire to be a writer about music. So at Women's Wear and at W, I was also the music editor. I'm obsessed with music, be it rock, folk, blues, jazz. Music is my lifelong obsession. And oddly enough, if you were reading between the lines to what went on in this magazine, it's actually a vaguely disguised music magazine. I focused my passion on music into the eyewear thing, and it worked out really well.
That's very cool.
And I might also add, because there's a lot of stuff intricate to eyewear that goes on with music. You're in an amazing arena with optical. The optical arena is so exciting. The fashion brands, the independent brands, whether it be music icons wearing eyewear, there's so much there. And now you have the chance to embrace it. I also, as Nico said, I encourage you to take a look at the 50th anniversary booth that Nico helped design. I was not a part of it anymore, but 50 years is quite a stab for a magazine. Yeah. I'm a music junkie, I'm a magazine fanatic, and an eyewear fanatic. And you got it all coming very soon with Vision Expo. Get to it. It's really a great event and a great chance for all of you to get together.
Yeah, I love it. And it's the last time it's happening. Last time it's happening in New York. Well, for now.
Yes.
So last time to get a taste of all of that together, right? Expo and New York. The flavor of New York. And first of all, before we wrap up, James, I can't wait to meet you in person. I think there's a lot I can learn from you, even in a short conversation. So I look forward to seeing you there.
I will be there. Thank you. Look forward to it.
Yes. And Nico, given that this is the last year it's happening in New York, at least for the foreseeable future, the awards there's something. Tell me about. I forgot. I'm forgetting now. I apologize. But with the awards, there's a bit of a flavor, New York flavor, or the pavilion. There's a bit of a New York flavor to it.
So on the pavilion one, on the pavilion side, yes.
On the pavilion, that's right.
Move the theme this year to really be oriented, to celebrating the nearly 40 years of the show in New York. And the show I've moved before. I think a lot of people. Again, parting of knowing the history. I've moved before from, California to Nevada to other parts, and when it comes to New York too. So the theme are New York nostalgia. We have New York City fashion. We have, of course, the color of the year, which is really cool. and then some other celebrating independent brands and really like that kind of wow factor. And the last one is about innovation and new technology and sustainability in materials. So yeah, so we're trying to represent all of the New York side of it. But you know, I know it's a big change. It's going to be a big change to move from New York to Florida, and there's a lot of opinion out there. So I'm looking, living here in Chicago, I do look forward to see the sun and the warmth. So, look, what makes the show, it's not where the location of the show is, right? What makes the show, it's the people that are in the show and what people are there for, to share with each other, to see each other, to create those relationships, to learn from each other. So sure, it's a big move for sure. But at the end of the day, it is the optical and the eyewear industry community that make a show a show. Right. And so absolutely, this is what I hope that people do remember when it comes to, embrace the change. So.
Yeah. And we can't wrap up, Nico, without you showing us the trophy. So
yes.
This is what the winners receive right here.
Correct.
This is what James had received last year. Beautiful.
It's upstairs.
As I was saying earlier, it's very hoistable, right? So when you're up there,
it is.
Like, yes.
That was the, I thought like it would be nice for people to be able to hold it in one hand while making a speech in the other. So that's kind of the idea.
Love it.
But there I am holding it up.
Hey, nice. Oh, you have a picture of it. That's beautiful.
Yeah, they gave me a plaque from 2020, and the plaque involved the picture of me holding it up at the Now Awards.
Love that. Awesome. Well, thank you both for coming on to share your thoughts on Vision Expo, on the Now Pavilion and the awards. Everybody who's listening and watching, don't forget, Friday, 4:30 p.m. at the Bridge. The awards show will be happening. Make sure you're there to celebrate, to cheer on the people who have received awards, and then, like I said, to have a sip of bubbly after, build that community that James is talking about. And then while you're around Vision Expo, make sure you go check out the pavilion and all the cool frames and vote. I think people can vote, right? Is that how it works?
Yes. So there's a little QR code. And this is the award that's actually give at the end of the show, but it's the one for the Popular Choice Awards. And so the little QR code, you can scan it. You get information on the frames, on the brands, where the booth is located at the show. And as you scan, it enters automatically for the Popular Choice. So that's a great award to win. That's one that's presented at the end, because obviously we need the length of the show for people to vote. But looking forward to see everybody.
Love it. That's great. I can't wait. I can't believe it's coming up so soon. I'm excited. I know you are too. You may be even a little nervous given everything you have to do.
A little bit, yes.
Thank you again, James, for doing this. I appreciate having you on. And Nico, thanks for everything you do. I can't wait to see you soon.
Yes.
And thanks to everybody who's listening and watching to the 2020 podcast, Canada's #1 optometry podcast. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
Thank you.
Bye.